I'm Darren with Akshon Esports, and welcome to Akshon Recap, where we highlight various stories ongoing within the esports community. News of the upcoming Hanzo rework, Symmetra changes, and a nerf to Sombra were all revealed recently after Jeff Kaplan took to the forums, but instead of dedicating a whole video to analyzing what Jeff said, we'll be tackling a more controversial subject. Based on the thumbnail and title of this video, you can probably infer that our main story of the day will be the disastrous state of Dallas Fuel, specifically what they're doing wrong and who is realistically the one responsible for this mess. Many people have already pointed fingers at KyKy, as that's the popular opinion right now, but I'd argue that it's unfair of him to be the one to become the scapegoat for all this blame if we take into account the difficult state of the team that he has to work with. So let's lay down some facts from what we saw from last night's game from the Boston Uprising versus Dallas Fuel, and you'll start to understand their reoccurring issues were particularly blatant in this match. AKM for some reason was on Genji instead of Rascal, who many believe to be brought on from the Spitfire this stage for his Genji. Sure, while you can say that AKM was practicing Genji before he joined Fuel, but why still run someone who is arguably better on Soldier and McCree than on Genji? We're all wondering what the decision process was like when the team agreed to keep Rascal benched and letting AKM play in almost every single game. Realistically, when looking at the hero proficiencies of both players, AKM should be treated like Pine from New York XL, and be substituted in and out with others on the lineup such as Seagull, who is a mean Pharah, and obviously Rascal on Sombra maps other than Route 66, and of course, whether the team wants to run a Genji. Other strange hero selections were done by Custa on Lucio and Ana, while Chips played Zenyatta. Custa is a better Zenyatta, and Chips is more known for his Ana and Mercy than being a good Zen. There could be some debate about KyKy's strategy regarding who should play what in this role, but what really boggles the mind of Fuel fans and Reddit analysts alike was the missing Harry Hook. When you have a player who's been waiting to bust out the Lucio and show Fuel fans a glimpse of his Lucio prowess, it is extremely confusing as to why you don't let the man have some stage time. Out of all the mistakes, fans are the most forgiving to the two supports, as it seems having Custa on a playmaker like Ana, who is responsible for most Overwatch League teams in making calls, is likely an attempt for Custa to take on more responsibility as the in-game leader, as the one shouldering such a role on a sinking team like Fuel is showing signs of strain. The biggest offender of not only the night but the last few games is Taimou. Taimou is still playing the Winston when the team has Coco, who could probably do a better job, as he was someone who mained the tank role and is not a DPS player shoehorned into a position which was mentioned on stream that is something Taimou didn't even want to play. But it is needed, since playing Winston would enable him to be the shot caller for the team, while Effect is still learning to shot call in English. But one must wonder, how much shot calling can he do as a dead monkey? There were several instances throughout the series where Taimou, either as a result of miscommunication or part of some strange strategy, was found deep sea diving solo into enemy lines, acting like a donation service for free ultimate charge. This left Mickie running around the map trying to make sense of what is going on, wondering if he should go in too, even though it would be a staggered engagement, or if he should stay in the back and wait for Taimou's respawn. In the end, Mickie chose some middle ground where he was always a bit late to the heat of the action whenever Taimou wanted to pull the trigger, but also too far away from his supports to offer any protection. Now that we've gone over a lot of their strange in-game decisions, I want you all to hold off on buying any pitchforks and going on a witch hunt for the coach's head, like we've seen on Reddit, as there's more to the KyKy hate than meets the eye. And there is a lot of KyKy hate going on at the moment, but I believe it should be toned down, as death threats and cussing, in addition to rallying for him to lose his job, are counterproductive to having an intellectual discourse. The amount of heat the head coach is receiving is still justified to an extent, as you don't have your players run heroes they aren't known to be proficient at, and you don't just keep those who can perform better on the bench to watch their team fall apart. But what if KyKy actually has his hands tied as he tries to work with a team filled with big superstar personalities who all want stage time, while also having to deal with losing one of your main tanks and working with some individuals who are just naturally not very communicative? The following is a tweet from KyKy. Quote, "It's actually incredible how people can say so many hateful things without knowing what's actually going on behind the scenes. I don't want sympathy for any of it, but it would be nice not to be spammed with animosity for things that aren't always in my control. With people digging through records, a clip from Uber was uncovered on the High Noon podcast in January, and things began to piece themselves together as to why Dallas had been struggling since the start of the season."
The point is, again, like KyKy has to deal with an incredibly interesting scenario in his team. I think he has one of the hardest jobs of coaches in the Overwatch League, because he's dealing with some real strong personalities. Now, I mean, this is kind of cheating, but I spend a lot of time in the Dallas Fuel scrim room, and I sit with them and I listen, and I listen to their conversations and their scrim discussions. And you've got guys that never talk at all, Chips and KyKy, or KyKy talks, but Chips said nothing to say. You got xQc who talks all the time, but only when he really wants to talk. And then a guy like Custer who's just going to talk all the time anyway, right? Seagull who knows so much but doesn't talk unless it's maybe drawn out of him more. Yeah, it is an insanely weird environment sometimes in that room with all, and Mickey's just going to he's just going to be hanging from the chandelier, yelling things at you. So you have it's so hard to manage this, and then you have a week where your player is sick. One of them is refusing to play. One of them is freaking banned or suspended. So you have now no options on the bench at all. And then you've got Hastro sitting up on the penthouse floor in Dallas, with his big Cuban. Oh, we need a French player. We need another one of those. Yeah, who's that AKM guy? Get him in. Here's the thing, right? Hastro has a lot of say in his team, and he's very passionate about esports. He's very involved. He wants them to bring in all these players, but KyKy's we don't need any more. We don't need before. On the last day of the signing window, before the Overwatch League started, Hastro wanted Dallas to pick up AKM. And they couldn't because there's no time to process the paperwork for any of that. But Hastro's make it happen, Kyle, do it, my minion. Kyle's
Things get even more complicated if you think about how AKM previously stated that he didn't want to join a team only to sit on the bench. Looking at the current Fuel situation, it could be inferred that there may be a contractual clause that AKM was promised to be a starting DPS player, somewhat like Effect and how he starts almost every game. This would be at the expense of KyKy's wishes, as it may be something pushed by his higher-ups. Keep in mind, this is all speculation. Most people don't consider this when jumping on the KyKy blame train, but many of these players could have contracts which are set up to get them higher salaries based on the amount or percentage of games you start or play. This allows the team flexibility to pay their underperforming players less, but on a team of well-known players and popular streamers, it's not going to be easy to manage everyone and keep people happy with their playing time. So, depending on what deal Hastro signed with AKM, KyKy might not have a choice in running Rascal at the cost of having to bench Effect. Chips was also reported to have been complaining about not being able to play as many games as he'd like, so that could also be a factor as to why Harry Hook, who is arguably a better Lucio, isn't being properly put to use. Whether or not this is the case is uncertain, but going along with this line of thought, it would explain why Rascal remained on the bench when he could have been able to make a significant difference in how the matchup against Uprising played out. If there is one player that the community has rallied behind over the season in light of the disappointment from Dallas Fuel, it would be their all-star DPS player Effect. You only need to watch a few games to see that Effect is doing his best, trying to fit the entire team into his backpack and carry them to victory. This approach might have worked in contenders, but does not make the cut in the Overwatch League, where the teams have risen to a caliber where the advantage of mechanical superiority is diminished and that any mistake could be readily punished. This is something that he has stated that the team is working to get away from and work more as a unit, but with the draft decisions we've seen and the internal issues brewing within, it's no wonder Effect is feeling more stressed than ever to try to bring home a convincing win.
It's just so hard. Oh no! It's just so hard.
The saving grace for the Fuel would be the signing of OGE. While not as remarkable or celebrated as Fissure, he could have a similar impact as what we've seen as change within the LA Gladiators. If you have a solid world-class tank protecting your team and initiating fights, it allows for a coach to focus elsewhere to promote development in other areas. While it's true that KyKy is the main coach, he's been given a less than stellar hand to work with given what we know now and taking into consideration the various player personalities on hand. He probably did not want to put Taimou onto the tank role, but had to because there was no room for him as a DPS. Now I'm handing it off to you. After listening to what has been presented, ranging from the mistakes made both in and out of the game in their Boston matchup to the tweets from the Dallas Fuel management, I want to know what you think is wrong with the team and what could be the most important areas to address if they hope to stand any chance of improvement. Do you think KyKy is still the one to blame, or is it by circumstance that he has been having trouble creating a winning team and is just trying to do his best? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. We'd also love to hear some feedback on this episode of Akshon Recap. Would you like occasionally seeing these types of episodes where we focus and go in depth on one topic, in addition to our regular episodes where we cover more topics going throughout all of esports? Otherwise, that's all for this installment of Akshon Recap. If you enjoy our content, check out our website at actionesports.com to stay up to date on the latest matches, highlights, and more. From scores, match history, and specific game info, we've got you covered for all things Overwatch esports. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to check out our channel for more action-packed content. Also, like and share this video, and click the subscribe button to join our notification squad. Thanks for watching.